Hey, I'm Chip. Welcome to the channel. Well, this week didn't go too well for me because I made a video for y'all, and I thought it was going to be a good video, and I shot it, and I just threw the camera on the desk, and I had to go out of town yesterday. Yesterday was Saturday. This is Sunday, and I usually do my my video editing early on Sunday morning so I can get it out before noon. But it didn't work out this week because the camera that I usually shoot that's right here, for some reason I had it misaligned, and the shot was up here and the action was down here. So it was just a bunch of useless footage that I took. And I'm disappointed. It was going to be a good video, but that's the only thing I had shot. But anyway, that's the break. Sometimes you have something, sometimes you don't. I've got a lot of footage that I took, a year or two ago, but I just don't feel like dragging it out of the cloud and trying to piece it together. So I figured I'd just make a simple little video today, tell y'all, that unfortunate event happened. Things around the shop are going pretty well. It's like the 7th of February, and things are greening up. I mean, we had 80-degree weather yesterday, and like 2 weeks ago, we had 3 inches of snow down here. But the grass is starting to grow. I'm gonna have to drag the mowers out again. And anyway, I guess everybody knows how that is. You just go with the seasons. I see the redbirds are coming back. As soon as the robins get here, I know it's springtime. I woke up this morning, I heard the springtime birds kind of tweeting, and I told the missus, I said, well, it's getting to be springtime. I hear birds that I don't normally hear. And she said, yeah, it's getting kind of warm. About time to start mowing again. And I hate mowing, but it's something you have to do. Anyway, everything in the shop's doing pretty well. I get some comments sometimes about, how did you get into this business? And I actually kind of fell into this business. I was an aircraft pilot for the state of Louisiana in agriculture and forestry. We did mostly forestry work, looking for southern pine beetle diseases and spotting forest fires. And a lot of people don't hear too much about forest fires in the South, but we do have them. But we fight them a little bit differently down here than they do like in California. In the mountainous areas, we have bulldozers that we take to a fire, and they have special blades and plows on them. You plow a fire line around it, and they're a lot simpler to fight in the South than they are like in mountainous terrain where you have to fight fires on foot. But I did that for 30-something years and retired in 2019. And I thought I was going to have forever to get all my honeydews done, but I got them done in about a month. I think I retired like on the 1st of May, and by the 1st of June, I had everything done. And it was like the second week of June in 2019. Mr. Harper had called me and said he knew I kept bees, and he said, I have a hive of bees in the wall of my bedroom. And he said, I need them gone. And I said, well, I'll come cut them out for you. So I went over to Mr. Harper's house. He was an old gentleman that he was in the washer and dryer repair business, actually several types of appliances. I don't think he did refrigeration, but he did stoves and appliances like washers and dryers and maybe dishwashers. And he had this sign out in front of his house that, out of business, no repairs. So I was over at his house, and I took down the wall. That's a huge hive up in his bedroom wall. And there were two queens in that hive. But I took the wall down, and it took a while to get all that stuff cut out. And I came out for some reason, and he was out there working on a washer and dryer. And I said, I see this sign over here. It says out of business, no repairs. And he looked up at me kind of disgusted like, and he says, I can't give this business away. He said, nobody else does it. And he said, I just can't turn some people down. They bring them to me. And heck, while I was there, 4 people brought him machines. And I said, well, I don't like being retired, Mr. Harper. You need some help and teach me how to do that. He said, we come to work Monday morning. And I've been to work Monday morning ever since. But he was getting real bad health-wise. He just couldn't do it anymore. But he took me on a few service calls and showed me how to do that. He knew absolutely nothing about computerized machines. He couldn't even diagnose them really. But he had a few books on them, and so I studied the books and I learned how to do the computerized machines. And the old style machines, he was a whiz at those, and he taught me everything he knew about those. And within 6 months, I was out on my own doing things, and he had just gone down so bad that he couldn't do much at all. He would come out actually we worked out of his garage, and I worked out of his garage until he passed away. But I bought this shop in the meantime, thinking that we would move down here, fix the office here and put a TV in it and everything in it for him. But he got so bad that he couldn't drive anymore, and so I just decided I'd stay at his place, and we would share the benefits of my labor until he passed away, and that's what we did. And but when he passed away, my wife and I came down here. If you follow the channel, she has a kind of a thrift store, flea market style business next door, and I have the washer and dryer business here. Now, people say you should get you ought to do this, you ought to do that, and I'm kind of retired, and the washer and dryer business in this area, I'm about the only one that does it here, and it keeps me busy. It keeps me real busy. I can fill up all my days. If I did other appliances, I could become a millionaire around here. But and especially if you went into some of the surrounding larger towns. And I encourage young people that want to be in their own business and do something different than just work for somebody else, is to start working on washing machines and dryers. And you can follow my channel and other channels, and they're fairly simple to fix. And once you get the knack of it, it's it's nice. It's nice to go on a service call, and the people are just frantic. Well, my washing machine is quitting. I just can't afford another $1,000 to put into a washing machine. And you look at, let me look at it, and you pull the knob out to start it, and you hear the motor just running and rattling. And I've got the experience now to know, that's a motor coupling. It's not too bad. Let me see what I can do. And about 15 minutes later, I have the machine fixed, and they think I'm a hero. It's kind of satisfying to do that. A lot of times, people will call you and they say, well, it stopped. It washed and then it stopped. It won't drain, won't do anything. Well, to me, if it's an old style machine, that's a lid switch. A pretty simple fix, but you do the service call and you're the hero. And it's simple to do after 6 or 8 months of working on them steadily. You start getting a feel for what's wrong with the machine when somebody calls you and tell you. But then a lot of times you can also get into trouble thinking that you know what's going on, and it's something totally different, because the customer will tell you all kinds of things. Don't really rely on that. You have to, a lot of times ignore what they tell me, because what they tell you and what you're thinking are two different things. So you need to diagnose it yourself. But it's a very rewarding business to be in, and it's really simple to get into. So I encourage anybody that wants to start their own business to maybe start into appliance repair. There are fewer and fewer people that are doing it, and there are more and more machines built like they're not built to last, but they are repairable, and there's a demand for it, and it's a pretty lucrative business. Anyway, that's one of the things I was going to talk about. That's how I got into it. That was in 2019. But before that, I was an aircraft pilot, and I've had a very eventful life. I have done just all kinds of stuff. I was fortunate to be born into a family who did things for themselves, and they taught me as I matured. The story. Well, some of the earliest memories I have of my mother and father, they were newly married. They had. I was the fourth of 5 children, and I think I was 2 years old when my dad decided to homestead in Alaska. Alaska had just become our probably the 49th state, I think. Or I think Alaska was 49 and Hawaii was 50. And they still had homesteading, and he was a veteran of World War II, and the veterans had a pretty good deal in homesteading. You could go to Alaska and stake out a claim for 160 acres of land and plant a crop, just like they did in the lower 48. It's kind of different because, there's not too many crops you can plant in Alaska that thrive. I'm not sure, I can't remember what his crop was, but I think it was clover or something like that. But he had to stake his claim and live on it for a number of years, and that was some of my earliest memories, and they were good memories, because we were out in the wilderness of Alaska. My poor mother at the time, she had 4 young children, and it was sometimes my dad. Our homestead was just outside of Homer, Alaska, and my dad would get what kind of work he could in Anchorage, which was, I guess that's 200 miles or more away from Homer, and he would leave her alone with 4 kids for a week or so, and while he worked off, he was one of the original builders of the Alyeska ski resort. He worked at a place called Quick Log that made prefabricated log homes. He had all kinds of skills. I watched my mother and father dig a well with a shovel, and only to have it cave in before he could shore it up, and then he had to do it again. My sisters and I had some fond memories of that place. We had a large hill on the backside of the homestead that went up a slope. The road that my mom and dad had made up to the homestead was it was impassable during breakup, and they had to backpack things back up to our house. It was a house to me, but in later years I went back there, and it was was a shack. I can't believe my folks lived like that, but they did, and it was a great adventure. But they had to backpack things in there. We had no electricity, no running water. My folks got their water from a spring, and my dad had these jerry cans that he would strap to a backpack, and he would hike down to the spring and fill the jerry cans up, and that's where we had water. I remember getting a whipping because I ran ahead of him one time and muddied the spring. But you know, it was a my dad didn't abuse me, but he did whip me when I muddied the spring up, because it took a long time for it to clear up again. But I had a good time there. And then after my folks proved up on their homestead, and life was hard in Alaska. It wasn't hard for children, but it was what I can remember about it. My dad had a dump truck, and we would go down on the Homer spit, and I think there's shelves of coal that offshore that wash out, over time, and are washed up on the beach at it's the Homer spit, and we would walk along the spit and pick up coal and pile it in that dump truck, and that's what my folks burned in potbelly stoves, and my mom had an oil burning stove she cooked on, and it was quite an adventure, and I don't remember as much as my older sisters remember, but because I think when we came back to Louisiana, I think 6 years old. I was in the first grade. I remember I started half of the first grade. My folks had proved up on their property in Homer and had moved to Anchorage, where my mother was an RN, and she had employment there, and my dad was working too, and they decided to come back to Oakdale, and I was in the first grade. It was 1964, because I remember being in class in the first grade when over the loudspeakers, John F. Kennedy had been assassinated, and it was a frightening thing for my folks, but it was a good life back then. But once we came to Oakdale, we had we were put in the school system here, and it was a whole different life to a young boy that was like 5 years old. Anyway, I don't want to bore you with all these stories, but hopefully next week I'll have another washer and dryer video that I can show you, and maybe you'll enjoy it. I'm sorry I didn't have one this week. Had one, but you wouldn't get to see anything because it was so bad. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you give me a thumbs up on this tirade here, and I'll see you on the next one. Chip is out. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, if you'd like to read about my family's adventures in Alaska, you can get my sister's book that she published years ago. It's called Coffee, Drunk, or Blind. It's on Amazon. I'll leave a link right below here in the description, and check it out. It's a pretty good read. It's a compilation of my mother's letters back home to my aunt Latane. So it's a good read, and hey, I'm on the cover. My mom and I are on the cover of that book, and if you'd like to read it, I'd appreciate you giving my sister some love. Her pen name on Amazon is L. Knowles.